Hello and welcome to Sutro Sidetalk, episode 156. I'm your host, Kamran Shushtar, and with me is
James Seelig.
We are here again. It's 1 week later, but actually, if you listen to 155, this is recorded only a few hours after. And special thanks to Miles for once again coming on and talking with us on Top Gun and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stardust Crusader, and also the Showa era of Gamera. We had a great chat there, and we also had a bit of news on that Jon Snow show that was announced. So if you want to check all that out, that's in episode 155. Enjoy that. And, these shows always have time codes. If there's only something specifically you want to listen to, you can always check that out too. But yeah, since it's recorded, we don't really have anything since the last few hours that we have to talk about. So I feel like we'll probably just get into it for this one, but also since it's 1 week later, right now I'm in Los Angeles, so that's why we're recording this ahead of time. Because of that, there's no news to talk about since it's all old at this point. But this episode, we're talking about that fun, jolly old Obi Wan TV show that we just got to bear witness to.
It's got its moments.
Yeah, I guess a moment or two. And Jurassic World Dominion. What crazy shenanigans have our characters gone into this time, and what kind of dino destruction has been caused due to that?
Literally the first thing I said after that movie finished was just like, God damn, that movie's fucking stupid.
Yeah. And what's funny is also these two things have like 3-word titles, so I'm like trying to think of it. I'm like, can I fit all that in? I'm just like, I'll just put Obi Wan and Jurassic World Dominion. I'll just leave the Kenobi out because that's like just one thing we could probably do without. It's okay.
Obi Wan Dominion.
Obi Wan Dominion. I almost want to call that. Actually, that's really good.
Yeah,
I might just do that. Well, you know what? We'll just call it Obi Wan Dominion. I like that. Obi Wan Dominion. It's so stupid. It's great. I feel like it's always hard now because it's like in the search fonts, it's always like it's hard to show up at certain things, but I like that. I always like combining things. I always enjoy doing that stuff. But
ooh, that would work for like search results if you get it, maybe both.
That is true. Yeah, maybe that's how it works. Otherwise, I'd have to put the long form of both names, and like it works for YouTube. When it comes to podcasting, it's like your title is too long, which is why if you look on the podcast now, it'll, instead of saying Sutro Sidetalk, it'll say SST to shorten it all up to make it easier to view.
Okay.
Yeah, whereas YouTube, it'll actually say Sutro Sidetalk for the episode itself. So fun fact there. But yeah. But we just got those two, and if time allows, maybe we'll knock out a couple other things on the backlog, but we'll just see how it goes first. Then afterwards, we can just kind of talk about where the channel is at once again, do a little update there, because I know there's certain things I said would be here now, and they aren't, and I can have little explanations for that, potentially. We'll see how it goes. But without further ado, you ready to just dive right into Obi Wan?
Yeah.
All right, so we got this show, and I feel like they hyped it up a lot, and
oh yeah,
everyone hyped it up a lot. This was
they made a whole point of being like, yeah, we got not just Ewan McGregor back, we got Hayden Christensen back for some reason. And to be fair, he was really good. They
also got James Earl Jones back to voice Darth
Vader. Yeah.
So it was like, oh shit, that's crazy. And there's all these different theories everyone has is what's going to go on. And the one thing that I would say the average person that really knows, I guess, I don't want to say, a real Star Wars fan, but a person that really knows what's going on in Star Wars would know you're not going to get that Darth Maul thing. I forgot the sounds of my phone.
Yeah.
Because we already got that in Rebels, for those that don't know.
I literally was like, if Darth Maul shows up in this show, that's going to make no fucking sense. And thankfully they didn't do that.
That would just make things so much more confusing than it already was. And
the Grand Inquisitor is dead. Wait, how? He's not dead. Oh, I guess that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Why'd you bother with that like for 2 episodes then?
Yeah, it was really So this show, I guess to easily say it in this very quickly, this show is probably going to be so far the most forgettable Star Wars show, live action show that we've gotten so far.
Really? More forgettable than Boba Fett?
Yes.
Okay.
I will say Boba Fett is a 50% thing where it's like, I'm going to remember the Tusken Raider stuff. That was really interesting.
That's very true.
Because Boba Fett runs on two timelines. So you have the flashback timeline, which I thought was actually the greatest part of the show. That was actually really good. I enjoyed that. I would consider that great. Then there's the modern day part where it's all fucking like really, it just wasn't good.
The moped gangsters.
Yeah. Well, the millennials was fun. You put in the millennials and you're like, we're gonna get the millennials jobs, and the millennials are like, we need jobs, and you're like, we put the millennials where it's crazy. Boba Fett.
Oh my god, I never thought about that.
Yeah, half good, half bad. It just like at least the Tusken Raider stuff was really fucking good consistently.
Yeah.
Then you get to Obi Wan, and the entire thing where it's not like timeline, it's all one timeline. There's like there's a couple flashbacks, but it's not like going with two different stories simultaneously. Because of that, it might have a great episode or good episode. Apart from that, as a series as a whole, it's just
trying to get to my house door.
Of course. It's forgetful, and it is just not good. It's just not good. It is the weakest show that they have, and it just lacks, I want to say, substance. They choked on their aspirations, as one would say via Rogue One. But I guess the weird thing too is, this was what was it, ran by what was her name? She did a good job with the Mandalorian episodes that she did, but this just didn't work for me. And let me double check who it was. It was Deborah Chow. Yeah, so she did a good job on the Mandalorian episodes that she did direct, but this show, nah, was not good. And I guess to go through it, like, you have 6 episodes. In these 6 episodes, we go from Obi Wan being in the desert, being like, fuck all of you, and the Jedi's like, help me, and he's like, no, and he's dead.
It was interesting that he was like literally broken at that point.
Yeah, he just gave up.
Like, I'm basically partly responsible for the fall of the Republic. Like, no one wants my help.
No one knows that he doesn't know Anakin's still alive.
That confused me. How did he not know that? Because, like, does no one know who Darth Vader is? Or
maybe not.
Oh no, okay, they're very clear on that no one is supposed to know who Darth Vader is. But like, I would have thought that Obi-Wan would have heard of Darth Vader and put 2 and 2 together. Like, it confused me when Reva mentioned that, like, Anakin is still alive. He's Darth Vader. And I was like, wait, that's news to Obi-Wan? Like, I thought he was hiding from him. That's why he was like on Tatooine.
Well, it's just, the whole thing was like, hide the children from maybe not even Darth Vader, just Palpatine. Just hide them because they're force sensitive children that could be utilized because they're Anakin's kids, and the Emperor would want a powerful Jedi line like that.
That's fair.
Otherwise, I would almost, ironically enough, compare this show to Venom, where Tom Hardy, remember Tom Hardy is a Venom in the first one. You're like, wow, he does a really good job as Eddie Brock. He does a great job as Venom. Like, I'm really enjoying him. What about everything else? Oh, it just feels like kind of like a diamond in a dumpster. And that's how I would describe Venom. And actually also Assassin's Creed with Michael Fassbender. But actually, no.
Did I ever actually watch that movie?
The history stuff is actually really good. They should have just made that a movie. And all the modern day stuff is fucking garbage. But they could have made a sequel. They could have done what they did with Venom, but not make it wacky. They could have just fixed all the mistakes they made and just honed it, and they just never did. And now Ubisoft is making other shit now. I don't fucking know. They're making an Assassin's Creed anime, I want to say, on Netflix. But anyway,
that could work.
Obi-Wan is the same thing. Ewan McGregor is, he's Ewan McGregor. He's great as Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah.
Hayden Christensen, I would say his performance here was good. I enjoyed it.
Dude, I was getting like the feels during the
that little the dual
flashback duel, and then like the final like talk that they had at the end of the duel, like the last episode was like, I really liked that.
So you got that. Cool. Look at the dumpster they're in.
Yeah,
like that's how I describe this.
What did you feel about young Leia? Because I thought she was very cute and she did a good job, but like I didn't like that she was a major focus of most of the season.
I thought so. She was enjoyable. She was entertaining. I will say that she was easily entertaining. I enjoyed her. She was easily probably the third most enjoyable character. Actually, one of the three only enjoyable characters in this show. Actually, four. I will say there's four enjoyable characters, but one is just comedic relief more or less, and you'll know who he is easily. But I think I wasn't expecting her to be in the entire show, and that was the plot was they stole the princess. You got to rescue the princess, and I'm like, whoa, is this the whole thing?
And dude, the funniest thing about that to me is that like Riva, she didn't even like know who Leia is really, like why she's so important and why she's like the only person that would have brought Obi Wan out of hiding, and like in like she just literally Riva, to her perspective, just kidnapped a senator's child and was like, he's a Jedi, he'll come save her. Well, also, I guess she knew that he had history with Senator
was friendly with the
Organa.
Jedi. Yeah.
But it was just like, it's super ironic that she literally kidnapped like the perfect like victim or whatever to pull out Obi Wan.
So I would say for Leia, like I said, entertaining. I don't know how I feel about her being a 10-year-old like young Sheldon already.
Yeah, she's like a super prodigy of everything.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, that was fast, all right, but like it's at least fun, but not completely believable. But at the same time, she's supposed to be a senator's child, so I guess that would make sense.
Yeah,
I'm not going to question it. It's not even. This isn't something I have a problem with for the show. I'm completely fine with it. This isn't the issue I had at all whatsoever. This isn't even detrimental to anything, really. Leia was not detrimental to anything for me.
No.
So I enjoyed her. I would say she's positive for it overall. And I had a good time with her. Do I need any more of her? No, because we already like the only era I want more of her in is the era that we need to recast her completely or make her animated or something. So it's like, like between 6 and 7 really is all I want. And between 4 and 5. No, 5 and 6. Between 5 and 6, which I think they're doing in the comics. So it's like already kind of taken care of. But right. I also wanted that. I just like the fucking what's it called? Shadow of the Empire, which is pre-Disney, and it's like the cool bounty hunter shit and everything else, and how she becomes Boosh. The little
ooh, yeah, that would be an interesting story.
Yeah, it's like that fun shit. But yeah, so she's cool. And then the other character that's more enjoyable but is just really comedic relief is Camille. What's this?
Nanjiani.
Yeah, his Nanjiani. What's his first name? Is it
Kamal
Nanjiani. So like he is fun. His whole shtick as like I'm a Jedi and
yeah,
he's
the fake
like
Jedi,
the fucking magnets and the shit. That was funny.
So funny.
Honestly, I enjoyed that character. That was fun, and it's like it felt so out of place, but it was also like believable at the same time. Where he's like, I just like to scam people, but I also help them at the same time.
Yeah, that's the funniest thing is like he's still helping people. He's just also scamming.
It's an incentive. It's like it's an incentive to go to him because he's like, I give you extra whatever because I can do this, and that was cool. That was fine. His character was fun. I don't think we really needed more. We didn't need more of him after that one episode he was in. I think he was fine for that single episode. After that, it kind of, but that's more of that entire plot as a whole, where they go to the rebels and shit, or the not even they weren't even rebels. They were like it
was like the beginning, the potential.
It was the Underground Railroad.
Yeah, that's basically what it was.
Yeah, it was an Underground Railroad, and which I do see. I mean, obviously, then we see the influences of the Underground Railroad and shit, and hiding from
slavers,
Nazis,
and that
Nazis and slavers. Yeah, like that whole thing of like Southern whites and Nazis. More or less the same, and pretty much like the other characters here. You have what's her face, played by Ilaria Sand from Game of Thrones. You had oh
yeah, I keep forgetting her name. I liked her though. The
Indira Varma. She plays what's her character?
Kind of like an
yeah,
she's kind of like an Empire spy or a spy for the path, but like embedded in the Empire, because she's like,
she was
yeah,
like originally in the Empire, and then she just didn't agree with what they were doing.
Yeah, she was like, they're way too extreme for me. I need to like do something to like fix what I've done in some way, balance the scales.
But she was very bare bones. Like there wasn't really much with her.
Kind of.
And what was funny was it did feel like it was very forced when right before she dies, she's like, here's my story, so you care about me right before I die. And you're like, wow, I don't really. You're dead. Oh, okay. Oh, thermal detonator, go boom. All right.
I don't know. I just hated the scene in the previous episode. I think it was the previous episode when they're trying to save Leia from the Inquisitor's palace or whatever you want to call it.
The Fortress Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Or something. Fortress
Inquisitorium or whatever.
Emancipatorium. I forget what movie that was.
And like she is like, okay, I work for the Empire. I still might have clearance if they haven't like discovered that I'm a spy yet. So she walks in totally fine. And like even despite the weird like confrontation with the guys, like, this isn't your sector, what are you doing here? And she's like, how dare you question me? And the guy actually was like, I'm so sorry, you're right, go ahead, man. And then she gets into the next room and she sits down and she's like talking to Obi Wan on the like
next to all these people,
and one of the guys that literally like looks over and is like, what the fuck is she doing? And I'm just like, this should not work. Like, what the fuck is happening?
All those guys at those desks had the I just work here vibes. They're like,
that's very true, I guess.
But I mean, I don't know how it is working at the Empire. Do you we never asked the important questions. Do you get benefits working for the Empire? Do you get dental? Like, how is it? Do you unionize when you're,
or is it so bad that you're just like, I'm not paid enough for this shit?
Yeah, is it kind of like that? Like, who knows? We don't know. They're either like, I work at Microsoft or work at McDonald's when it comes to working at the Empire. I don't know which one it fucking is. Who knows? But it's just an interesting thing that I want answers to now. But she just felt milquetoast. Like there wasn't anything about her. They could have done a lot more if they really wanted to expand her character. They could have built her up sooner rather than right before her own death. Like, she was just along. I think that was the issue with all of the Underground Railroad characters, where they were just dialogue points. There was nothing else about them.
Time with any of them.
Yeah, and like you're supposed to feel bad about that one snowspeeder pilot that gets taken down.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so one of their friends is dead. I don't know who he is. I'm sure it's sad for them.
Well, they actually show him beforehand. So they do show the two pilots before when Obi Wan's like, I'm gonna go to Fortress Emancipatorium, and they're trying to figure it out. It shows like, what's his face? They actually did have. I was actually shocked that they had him in here, but O'Shea Jackson Jr. as Roken. He was
I liked Roken though. He was pretty cool.
O'Shea Jackson Jr. wasn't he's in Godzilla King of the Monsters as one of the soldiers.
That's how I recognize him.
But I think you've seen the other thing he's in. Yeah, because he's Ice Cube's son. He plays Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton, which I haven't seen, but you have.
Oh, did I see that?
Yes, you talked about it here once.
Oh man, it's been a while.
Boom, yeah. I'm pretty sure you'd. Oh no, wait. Was it that or was it the Wu-Tang one? Maybe it was the Wu-Tang.
I know.
One.
I definitely watched the Wu-Tang show.
It wasn't that one. It was Wu-Tang. Never mind. Yeah, I got them confused. Wow, that's actually really stupid of me. But that whole thing with him, that was the same thing. You're just like, you have Roken, you have Inara. It was Inara. I forgot her fucking name again. But was it? No, it's Tala. Inara is her actual name. Indra was her actual name. So you have Tala, you have Roken, and then you have these two other people there. There's like the white dude and the Asian girl. And they're all there and they're talking and all this shit. The white dude and the Asian girl, the two snowspeeder pilots that come in and rescue them at the end, that show up at the fortress. And they all get into one and the other one gets blown up. And you're just kind of like, well, that sucked. And I at least had small entertainment value just because I would say the Snowspeeder is one of probably my favorite Star Wars vehicles in the universe. Probably easily in my top 3, maybe higher. I'm not too sure, honestly. It kind of always changes for me, but that was like little fan service for me where I was like, yeah, snow speeders or T-41s. I think I forget what their actual name is called. I think it's like T-41 land speeders. I used to know all this shit, but yeah, they're just there, and you're like, okay, and you see all these people, and they're like, we're trapped. The Empire is gonna kill us, and you're like, yep, they probably are. That's it. I don't really got anything else for you. There's just no connection to it all. It just felt
Yeah,
hollow.
I mean, one thing that also got pointed out to me that kind of ruined that like escape scene for me. Why didn't they launch TIE fighters? We saw TIE fighters on that base. Like they could have gotten those speeders easily.
James, we're talking about the Empire. They have a budget just like Disney does. And with that budget, they can't afford to put TIE fighters out there fighting all of that. And it's
even
either
when the
that
base is on high alert.
It's either that or, the writers are, maybe they,
not up to task.
Maybe they're not up to task, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Same thing like with the last episode. Like there's, they're doing the chase again for some reason. And I guess they've been like the Empire's been firing on the ship that's like trying to run away from them, and Darth Vader's like, increase firepower, and someone else pointed out to me, it's like, why didn't they launch fighters? Like they're within range.
You gotta understand, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the issue. I mean, there's just plot holes. There's just a lot of holes, and it's like,
it's like there's cool moments, but overall there's too many like things that just don't add up or don't make sense or just aren't well fleshed out or thought about or thought through in this show.
And at certain points, the parts that feel like fan service, like we just talked about it in Check Out 155 with Top Gun, we talked about fan service versus good tributes that fit into the plot well. And in this one, it felt more like fan service at a certain point. There was only one I thought that fit into the plot well, and that was just the flashback. Otherwise, everything else just felt kind of forced. And they're like, did you like the thing we did? The thing we always talk about. We made the meme real. Hello there. Hello there. And you're like,
he actually said hello there.
Yeah. And I was like, cool. Because it's like the last thing that's said in the show. And by this point, by episode 6, I don't care anymore, kind of. I'm just kind of done. And then he goes, hello there. And I'm just like, is it over? Is this done? Did we finish?
Maybe not. They might do a second season somehow.
No. God damn it. It was supposed to be a limited series. But there's them. You got your Underground Railroad. You got Leia. You got Fake Jedi. And then there is the Inquisitors and Reva, which the Inquisitors, there's not much to say. You have, what's his face? The fifth brother who dies in Rebels. He gets got pretty good. But like
I liked him in this though. That dude was cool.
Yeah, he was fun in this. But it was funny between them where he's like, Mommy said I'm in charge now. Fuck you. And it was like that whole thing. And you know who played him? I was very shocked to find out who played him.
Who?
That was fucking Sung Kang, aka Han from Fast and Furious.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I was like,
I recognized him under all the makeup and like the hat and stuff.
Yeah,
helmet, I guess.
I remember looking early on IMDb, I think, and saw that was the thing, and I got like really excited. And then there was also one more. I forget. Do you remember who was the other sister there?
No.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh, fourth sister, played by Raya Kilhits. Okay, yeah, fourth sister, which I don't think was in Rebels, because I think it was the one that was in Rebels was played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I think she was either seventh sister or something else. I think she might have been seventh sister, and you know how she dies. So, and then there was the other Inquisitor in that episode was this lanky thin guy, and it was also male. So she actually, we don't know what happens to fourth sister yet, because the two that are in also Jedi Fallen Order aren't in this either. So very interesting that we have now one that is alive besides, actually, we don't kill the first one, right? Because we get two sisters in Fallen Order. The big one doesn't die.
Yeah, she get. Ooh,
I don't think she does. I think
I
she
know
survives.
you cut her hand off, and I know
You cut her hand off and you send her off the tree, but I don't think she
her, but I
died.
can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think she's dead.
Yeah, I
She
don't
gets
know.
launched off
Maybe
the
they weren't
tree.
explicit about that.
So I think her and fourth sister are still
Right.
alive, and I think we'll get that one from Jedi Fallen Order back again in the second one, and she'll come back and be like, "Remember me, motherfucker? You cut off my hand." Uh, I would expect that, and then fourth sister, who knows? I'm not going to figure it out for now. But you assume, if there's up to 7 sisters and at least 5 or more, 8 brothers and stuff, there's still a bunch we haven't seen yet. And then there's, the Grand Inquisitor. The Inquisitor is
he just looks
budgeted
so
as
weird
fuck
this time. Yeah.
So this was where the Grand Inquisitor is where I realized the budget was highly in there. You look at his head, and I'm like, "Yo, how'd y'all fuck up his head?" And they're like, "Well, it's practical effects." Well, you've practically fucked up his head, then,
Well,
okay?
and they did practical effects for his species in the past too, with episode 3.
Was episode 3 practical, or was that full CGI?
I could have sworn it was just a dude in a bunch of makeup when Obi Wan went to the planet that
Utapau.
Grievous, that Grievous was hiding out on, and like the dude, unless I'm mistaken, like the dudes that come up to Obi Wan and are like, "Oh, thank you for coming and visiting our planet," and then they get close enough and they're like terrorizing our people. Like I could have sworn those are the same.
I wanna look this up now and try to figure it out, but
Yeah, if not, like we've at least seen this character before in like not Clone Wars, Rebels, and like he didn't really look like they, especially if it's like really uh the character design, but like the Inquisitor in the show had like a very thin head, and the one in like Kenobi is like weirdly bulbous, and I don't know why.
yeah, so it's a narrow head that's longer, and this one it's just normal head. They just made him bald looking and put markings on his head, and you're like, okay. So
Like very faint markings too.
yeah, and I don't see anything. It's just there's random facts, but oh wait, was the POW were created through a mix of prosthetic makeup and computer generated imagery. Okay, so it was a combo. It was a hybrid of both.
Okay.
But that technology existed back then, and you can imagine that it would be potentially easier to do it in modern day. So they looked at that. They looked at his design in Rebels of the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels, and then they proceeded to give us what we got in Obi Wan, knowing all of that. And I don't want to say, like, it's a mix of like, is this just budget? Which, if it's budget, that is your best potential defense for it, which I still wouldn't defend. Like, I still wouldn't take that as a good, I wouldn't accept it either way. Like, I'd be like, all right, I get it's budget, but y'all should have had a higher budget then. Like, this is fucking Obi Wan Kenobi. What the fuck are you doing? And it's fucking Disney. You guys can afford it as well. Like, I don't get how you could not afford it. Come on. The other thing being, if it's not the budget, how the hell did you fuck that up so badly? Like, it's so easy to know what he looks like, and
there's literally references.
You can easily design it, and somehow you didn't. Like, what the fuck happened? But yeah, that's like my only, like, I guess, non-story but more lore gripe. I mean, just really consistency of keeping it within the universe and stuff. So there was that. Otherwise, his acting was fine, even though in the first part he's like, I'm getting the credit, fuck you, and all this other shit. Just like, you need to obey my orders. Like that, the whole time they made the Inquisitors just kind of feel childish more than anything, which I don't know if that was intended, but it just kind of felt weird. Like, I don't know, they felt more threatening and cunning and intriguing in Rebels,
Oh,
whereas here
absolutely.
they just felt like, fuck you, no, fuck you. Like that was it. It was just
Well, especially like, yeah, most of the conflict we got with the Inquisitors was like between themselves.
yes. Yes, 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 that was the thing. Yeah, it was. And then there's everyone's favorite Reva, which I will say, if you're angry at her for being black, that's obviously racist and you should feel bad and try to
Yeah.
fix some things in your life. But otherwise, as a character and the acting through it, I can easily say that was not good and potentially probably the worst character in the show. Like, I don't get what this character was going for, because you had a weird mix of like, there was a weird mix of like just unnecessary anger where she was like, where the fuck is this shit? And you're just like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this part of that weird sequel era super anger compared
I
to
don't
like
know.
composed people? Like what happened to the Empire? Like,
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell if it was like a mix of her being, literally trained in the ways of the Sith, and they're basically trained to use their rage and their emotions to augment their power, I guess, unless I'm mistaken
true.
about that. So I thought it was like a bit of that, but also like I actually did kind of start to like her story in episode like 5, when there's like
The flashbacks.
you find out the turn that, like, I mean, it was really obvious that she was one of the younglings that escaped, but like the turn that like she has done all of this terrible shit, like, just so that she can get revenge on Darth Vader because she knows who he is, and she's like, if I can kill enough Jedi to get them like to not suspect me, and if I can move up the ranks enough and get close enough to Darth Vader, I can maybe kill him and get revenge for all of my friends that he murdered that night of Order 66. I actually thought that was really cool. And that's like very close to the storyline to like the Jet Li movie Hero, where he does these like amazing feats just to get close enough to the Emperor to try to kill him.
And then he tells the
But
Emperor he should do this instead, and then he
yeah,
gets shot with a bunch of arrows and dies.
yeah, no, Hero ended weird, but like at least that was an interesting concept of like I did all
Yeah.
these things just to get here. And I was like, oh shit, like so that, I mean, it's insane that Riva was willing to murder more Jedi to for the sake of like avenging the Jedi. That was weird, but it was at least interesting. But then they lost me with the last episode where she's like somehow survived being stabbed through like in the stomach, I guess, by Darth Vader, and just like they tried to do a redemption thing at the end, and I was like, I don't really know. I don't think she's done too many things to be redeemable by like one decent act.
So I thought she was just plain bad in one
Really.
through four. So 1 through 4, she's just like, Obi Wan, come on, Obi Wan. She's just like, warriors, command play. And I'm like, the fuck is going on here? Like, it just was weird. It was super fucking weird the way she acted throughout it. And it was just temper tantrums. And it's like, yeah, you're supposed to channel your rage, but at the same time, the Sith and the Imperials that we get throughout the original portions and even in the prequels are very refined. They're very disciplined, and they still channel their rage, but they're disciplined rage. Like you look at Darth Maul, you look at Count Dooku, you look at Sidious, you look at Vader. They're not like fucking shit, fuck. Like
That's very true.
you look at the Imperials in the original trilogy, and they're just like, oh yes, fucking piece of shit. And then you see it in like I don't know, what's it called? Last Jedi, and they're like, kill him now. Ah! And I'm like,
Yeah, Hux
yo,
was a little overboard.
even just all these other people, they just fucking sucked. It was just bad. They didn't, I don't know why they lost, like, they just lost that good cultural style that they had. And now they just turned it to shit. It's feels very half-assed, if I'm going to be honest. Whereas you do get Riva in 5, and yeah, it was intriguing the way they pull her off there, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And I'm not counting her getting stabbed by Vader with anything. Like, I'm not counting that against her. when she comes back. That's more of just the story, not the character. And I'm fine with everything in 5. I'm like, that's interesting. That's cool. I get it. I already figured that out like halfway through the show, if not like by episode 2 or 3. So it's kind of obvious at that point.
I got that like in episode 1. I was like, I bet she's one of the younglings, because why else would they show that scene?
Honestly, because the only thing that threw me off was when they showed that first Jedi that showed up there. I'm like, oh, is he going to lead him back to all the other younglings that escaped? And it's like, no, they all just kind of, because they don't, when you see them all run away, you think they're all potentially alive and they got away. You don't know that, oh no, Anakin was just like, I love children.
Master Skywalker, what do we do?
There's too many of them. In episode 6, not to confuse with Return of the Jedi, she and that one was completely fine, because for the most part she didn't talk. And then
that's weird, because I honestly I feel like she should have died in episode 5.
I mean, that's so what I'm saying is, then I'm talking about the character. I'm not talking about the action of the story. This is specifically about the character. So with the character, you know, she's fine. She's not talking. She's just doing actions, and like Owen and Beru are fighting her and shit. And I'm like, oh, this is fine. All right, cool. And then she gets to Luke, and then she's like, you know, I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, I'm not putting it against her for not being able to do it. Once again, like what Obi Wan chooses to do with her is not against her. It is part of the story and your issue with the story, if anything, at least for me too, potentially. I'm not sure yet. So once she's like in an emotional state and is talking in episode 6, I'm like, why didn't we have this in the first few episodes? Like, why isn't she just more refined in the first few episodes? Why does she feel like this is just her talking? And it's like, well, now she's disguised as an inquisitor throughout the other ones, though, before you know what's going on. And it's like, so as her disguise is for her to sound like a fucking idiot? Is that the disguise? Like, right?
Also, it's not much of a disguise if she literally did the things that the Inquisitors wanted her to do. Like like, I guess there is such a thing as deep cover, but like she literally murdered other Jedis and like whole families and stuff. Or at least I'm pretty sure they said that at some point.
It's
like,
for a good cause, James. Don't worry.
Yeah,
it's for a good cause. So
is it? Because literally her whole end game was revenge, which was cool, but it's just like it's not.
It also failed,
good.
So you're free of him now. Okay, yeah, she's free of him. Is she free of him? But it doesn't.
That was the other thing. I hated when he's like, "We're both free now." I was like, are you? Because you kind of have to stay hidden on this desert planet, or you're gonna fucking die.
He's totally free in episode 4. In Star Wars: A New Hope, he totally gets free. Yeah, he gets swiped into freedom. He just goes, yeah, swipe left with your lightsaber, and I'm gonna be free. And then he goes and becomes blue. So yeah. So Reva, I thought, was not a good character. Very just annoying and obnoxious until the last 2 episodes, where you finally get her to talk normally and not just like fuck. And then in 6, where she's like more believable, and I'm like, because honestly, when you're watching like the first 4 episodes, I'm like, yo, can Moses Ingram act? Because this is kind of bad. This is like really bad. And then you get to 6, and I'm like, okay, she can act. They're just not directing her properly. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And that's kind of how I feel about her as a whole. And obviously she doesn't die, and that could mean one of 2 things. Oh boy, Obi-Wan season 2, or Reva continues on in comic or other thing, and probably does not need her own show. That's not going to go well, trust me. Just because if it's a character that a lot of people didn't like, and they give her own show, that doesn't make any sense, especially when I don't think this show is that successful, but somehow Disney thinks it is. Like, I don't know how many people like this, because so far everyone I've asked does not like it.
It's been very mixed. Like, Chris really liked it, but
yeah. So there's that, and then you got Obi-Wan and Vader, and because Organa is there, there's not really anything to say about Organa. He's Organa. They did fine with him.
It's just cool to see him back again.
Yeah, but otherwise, Obi-Wan is done well. It's just the plot he's running through that feels just whatever. And Darth Vader is done well. I really did appreciate, though. So because there's not really much. We already know of Obi Wan and Darth Vader, right? There's not much to say about them.
Yeah,
I feel like
pretty much.
so. Let's just talk about what happens in these episodes. You have all these episodes that kind of throw you around. There's weird kidnapping that occurs that somehow gets pulled off on a planet full of people, and they're just like, yeah, we landed, we came, we got her, and we got
Yeah,
the
like
fuck away. And it was like a weird little cartoon chase.
I can't believe those mercenaries were actually able to find and kidnap Leia. I know the whole thing is like she just runs off on her own from time to time. But like, yo, there was no surveillance in that forest.
It's also weird because they just kind of play. It's like a weird like chase scene where it feels cartoonish, where they're like, bah, 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 and she's like, oh no, and then there's a guard that's actually right there, and you're like, what if there's more guards? But they're playing around doing this.
It's like, dude, this is Alderaan. This is not like a backwater planet. Like the city is like giant spires. Like they would have ways to patrol, like to find Leia and like keep an eye on her, even when she sneaks out. You would imagine.
Yeah, it's not like
she has a pet droid.
It's not like the fucking chase through Mos Espa when the mayor's assistant is running away and the millennials chase him down in the bikes.
Yeah,
like that was more believable than this, and that was already like just cartoonish in and of itself because he had rainbow bicycles just running around fucking chasing a guy with tentacles on his head. So there's that.
Yo, I didn't know Vespa sold to the galaxy far, far away.
And then I will say this. Episode 6 is a great episode. That was a great time. Everything from the duel to just going back and forth between Tatooine and whatever fucking planet they were on with the rocks and shit. The thing I will applaud them for the most was definitely the utilization of going between James Earl Jones and Hayden Christensen for voicing Vader when his modulator got fucked up. And he's kind of going in between like Vader and Anakin talking, and you can hear the voices change as he's going through. Cool. That was really well done. I will applaud you guys for that. I really like that. That was smart. Really good. The other thing was the way they do have Vader. They do a great job with him, I will say. Like, I think since Rogue One, they've really done a great job in just having him look like a fucking... They're like, this is why he's feared in the galaxy. Just like in Rogue One, where he's just like throwing dudes left and right. And you're going to get the reverse version of that in Mandalorian with Luke fighting the Dark Troopers. But in this one, I did crack up because like, I think it was episode 3 maybe, when he goes through that town and you see the dad and he just kind of kills the dad and the son runs out and he just breaks the son's neck and you're like, yeah. Oh. Like there's already a great meme of I think it's like Steve Harvey, and it's like because I think it's like, oh, Disney portraying Darth Vader, and you're like laughing, and then you see Darth Vader breaks child's neck and you're like, oh. it's so funny, and that I liked. So the way they really utilized Darth Vader was really fun, where they're just like, yeah, he just kills people because he can. He'll throw Obi Wan in the fire. He'll
I totally forgot he literally dragged him through a fire.
Yeah, right. You forget about it already. Like it's halfway through the fucking season. You already forget.
Really not good that show is so forgettable that it just ended and I'm literally forgetting major.
That's what I was saying. This show is a very forgettable show already. That was this biggest. It's like kind of like Solo, but Solo at least had good portions in it. It has really. Solo is actually good, but it's forgettable. It's a weird thing. This is not good, and it is forgettable. There's the difference. The other thing was the 5th episode. Was it the 5th episode had the flashbacks during the fight? I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So using that flashback as an explanation of how Darth Vader works was
how
also
they both
well
know
done.
How each other work. Like, yeah, that was cool.
I thought that was good. And it was pretty much, I really did like the way they pulled that off, but otherwise the episode itself, I did not like. It was just kind of whatever. It was just a weird, good like plot line that they utilized to make that flashback occur. And I did appreciate seeing Hayden Christensen back as Anakin, though I did really wish, like, I'm not gonna lie, I really wanted to see like Clone Wars, Anakin and Obi Wan, like in the fucking armor and shit.
Yeah, it was weird to see. Like, it took me a minute
Pre episode 2.
Yeah, it took me a minute to recognize that that was like Padawan Anakin, because he had the hair braid, and I was just like, oh, this is supposed to be a much younger Anakin. And
yeah,
like, dude, Disney is literally the ones that have the best de-aging technology in like the world right now, and or digital de-aging technology, obviously.
he did not look de-aged.
It didn't look like they did it at all. They were just like, just do his hair, it'll be fine.
Dude, they could have made him just scarred clone commander Anakin, clone general Anakin Skywalker.
That's the other thing. Like, why wouldn't they do like an older Anakin? Because like they would have.
Actually, I can explain that.
Why? Because they would have. I would imagine they would have sparred all the time.
Same reason when you looked at the Grand Inquisitor. You're in a room of 2 guys, making it very easy dueling in one little spot, versus being in a war zone with clones and all this shit going on and crazy armor that probably would cost a lot more to do.
Well, no, it still could have been like a private duel, just like for practice, and like, hey, it's been a while, want to like see if I can finally beat you or something like
Clone
that.
armor is more expensive than robes.
I guess.
I don't know. That's my
it can't be that much more expensive.
That's my good defense for them, versus they're just like, they just give them the young Anakin. I don't fucking know, dude. I will say too, I was slightly disappointed that the only clone was just a homeless guy. I thought we'd at least get Cody, but apparently Cody's in Bad Batch season 2. Like, he's in the trailer. I couldn't tell it was him, but apparently he's in it. So there's that.
Yeah, it was kind of cool seeing that like old like veteran who's just like massive beard, and he's just like, got any spare change.
Yeah, that was little
interesting and sad, but
yeah, I don't even say it's an Easter egg, but it's a good scene at least. Honestly, in terms of just quality, I would say episode 6 is honestly really good. I thought it was really good, but everything else was either just fine to bad. Like, it was in between there, which means like overall, that's why I'm like, overall the show is not good. Like, it's not good whatsoever.
I wanted to like it, so overall I still was positive on the show, but it definitely wasn't the level of quality I was expecting from a show that they hyped up this much, as like the return of Ewan McGregor and like Hayden Christensen and James Earl Jones and like the guy who plays Senator Organa. Like, we're bringing them all back for like this one special limited series show that's gonna be this awesome Star Wars event, and it was just like, oh, it's okay.
Well, you know what's funny?
So that's a little disappointing.
You know what they do? They go, hey, we kidnapped the princess, and then years later they come back to Obi-Wan and they go, hey, they kidnapped the princess.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess the only thing I can think of is maybe this makes why Leia back in episode 4, like why she reached out to Obi-Wan Kenobi specifically.
Years ago, you served my father in the Clone Wars or something. And
she did say that specific. I totally forgot. They literally already have an answer.
She's not like, oh my god, my friend Obi-Wan, I'm not going to forget you or anything like that. So it does make it feel weird. It does.
Yeah. Okay. So
it does kind of continuity fuck up a little bit there, which I'm like, fine, whatever.
The whole show is technically a continuity fuck up, because so granted, when Darth Vader in episode 4 says like, I haven't sensed this presence since, and he just like cuts off and like leaves, so that's ambiguous and left open. It could have it didn't necessarily mean like way back in episode 3, but like I always assumed that the last time that he met Obi-Wan was when he like cut his arms and legs off and left him for dead, and that's why he was so afraid to like go all out and fight him in their like final duel. So I was really not expecting Obi-Wan and Anakin to meet each other again, let alone multiple times in this season. Like, I thought, like when they said that they brought Hayden Christensen back, I thought he would be in like a couple scenes and it'd be like a cool cameo or whatever. I didn't think that they'd literally repeatedly come back at each other and like have multiple duels in this show. It was cool, but just not all of this show was not what I expected them to do with it, and it wasn't necessarily for the best.
No, so the thing about the show as a whole, or the plot, the story as a whole, is it felt very hollow. It felt very unnatural to me. It didn't make sense. It just felt like some weird fanfic idea that someone wanted to create, and they said, "Oh, this is a great idea. Use the kids and shit." When honestly, I think I could probably come up with a better story, and I'll just say it. So honestly, what I think they could have done, and I know people would probably hate it, being like, "Ah, he's on Tatooine. I hate fucking sand. We've had sand in the Mandalorian and Boba Fett." And I'm like, well, shit, this is actually the one that you want to be on Tatooine, because that's the whole point, is Obi-Wan's on Tatooine.
It wouldn't make sense otherwise.
Yeah. I think they didn't have to make some cohesive story that's like going through 6 episodes, going on a mission to rescue the Princess Leia and like bringing her back and all this shit and everything else around it that's going on. Instead, I think it could have been kind of like Tales of Obi-Wan throughout his time on Tatooine. And it would have been, which we forgot to mention, hey, look, Liam Neeson. Oh, hey, it's me. I'm over here. I'm blue. Woo! Like, that was,
I expected him to show up at some point.
I expected him to show up, but not so fucking wacky. Just like, oh, what took you so... That was like, you know what? That was out of fucking Hocus Pocus. If you remember watching Hocus Pocus, like Zachary Binks finally dies and becomes a ghost, and his sister comes and it's like, Zachary Binks, what took you so long? Where have you been? And then they walk away. Same thing happens. Qui-Gon's like, oh, Obi-Wan, took you long enough. And he's like, oh, master, hello.
Yeah.
Fucking shit, dude. And he's like, yeah, well, come on. We got much to talk about. So you can turn blue too.
It's weird because like I might have to watch episode 1 again, to at least parts of it, just to get like a sense of Qui-Gon's mannerisms. But in that scene when he shows up at the end and like you said, he's like, oh, what took you so long? That didn't strike me as Qui-Gon, because the impression I got way back when I like watched episode 1, like not just the first time when I was a kid, but like more recently after episodes 7, 8, and 9 came out, and I was like, are the prequel movies actually better than this? I
enjoy
like
the prequels more than this, yes.
Yeah, like the impression of Qui-Gon I got was like he's more stoic and just like he wouldn't really be joking around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, he's got a lot of time now that he's dead. He could just joke around all around. He's like, who cares? I'm dead. Woo! He's blue with it. But
I haven't had anyone to talk to for like 10 years. You have no idea.
So this is, and sorry if I sounded like insane throughout this whole talk, guys, but it just didn't work. It did not work. I think this show is a failure. Now, this is what I think they could have done on it, because I think it's failure. Do you want to know why I think it's failure? Because I don't want a season 2. I don't think it should be, because I think, what if it's just as bad, if not worse? Could it be better? I don't know.
That's weird, because for me, I don't want a season 2 either, but it's not because I didn't enjoy this season. It's just like they already skirted the line so closely of just like fucking up the timeline because of like, okay, yeah, they could have not had the Darth Vader fights or whatever to make more sense for like episode 4. But at the same time, like I just said, they were ambiguous enough in episode 4 that they could have had confrontations, and it just was like, oh, you just didn't know about them yet. But I just would worry that they would actually venture too far and start to make things make no sense at all.
Yeah.
Like there's just more chances for them to have like continuity errors that they just like miss.
Yeah. So this is what I think. You could potentially keep the whole thing on Tatooine. I know, oh no, more sand. But each episode isn't necessarily back to back and all cohesive. The one cohesive thing, trying to contact Qui-Gon. But each episode is instead him doing something in that day. Not like, oh, boring, whatever thing. I mean, like, he maybe goes on some adventure on Tatooine that he has to do something. He sees someone in trouble and he's like, oh, I better help them out. Like maybe Tusken Raiders are doing some shit and he has to stop it. there is a thing, I don't remember if it was I think it might have been like in Legend, like basically pre-Disney or not, but I think there was like a Jedi that survives, escapes to Tatooine, and starts ruling over the Tusken Raiders and kind of forsakens everything the Jedi stood for. So Obi-Wan, I think, takes him down. I could be wrong, but that could have been one. He takes down that Jedi and stops the Tusken Raiders from like basically potentially acting like some kingdom that attacks other people and stuff. He could maybe help other Jedi escape that are there, and they're being chased. The Imperials are there, and he like has to do it while staying like undetected potentially from them, or making it look like if they do get taken down, that it was the Jedi that already escaped and left Tatooine. Obviously, we can't do Maul. That would have been a very easily good one, but they did that in Rebels. Now, honestly, looking at it now, they could have probably not done it in Rebels, and it would have been better here. Like it actually probably would have worked so much better here than in Rebels, where that felt like a random one-shot episode when they did that. But I mean, I honestly think they could have done it better, but it's okay. Like they did it well enough, but it just didn't, I feel like it didn't fit necessarily with the rest of that show that was going on. It was like a weird cameo episode more than anything. But there's different, like I said, it's kind of like Mandalorian, but you just make it so it's like one of these adventures and he kind of does something new. He does a different type of deed and he comes back at the end of the day and he comes and tries to commune with Qui-Gon. And there could be points where you do have flashbacks of the Clone Wars, and that could be part of it too. Kind of like they had the flashbacks of the Tusken Raiders with Boba Fett, but instead it's like him and Anakin and all this stuff, and he's kind of reflecting on it, learning from it, kind of training himself to be that older man that fights him at the end in the Death Star. Like, I think that kind of buildup would have worked really well. And at one point, maybe he could have gone off planet and fought with the Inquisitors, maybe not necessarily for the reason of like Leia getting kidnapped or something, but they could have done something like this, and I think it could have been done much better. And I think that would have been more interesting because it could have been him still like the parts where it's quiet and he's trying to figure out what the hell he's doing with his life, and always maybe taking a look and making sure Luke is okay, like from far, just like they kind of did in this one.
Yeah, like didn't they advertise this show as like it was going to be a deep character piece, and it ended up being a lot more action than character
Deborah
piece.
Chow compared it to be on par with Logan and Joker.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see that at all.
No, yeah, exactly. So that's what I think they could have done better. Otherwise, if they wanted to do like that whole Inquisitor thing, I think they could have done that either with less or just without Princess Leia. I don't think they needed to include that in there, as that kind of just confused everything. Like I said, not anything wrong with her as a character. She was, like I said, probably one of the better parts of the show. Just as a plot point, I think they could have done without that and done something else. Maybe had something with fucking Quinlan Voss, but then again, that might even like interfere with the book that he's in with Asajj Ventress. So yeah, I would say all that kind of stuff. That's my thoughts on it and what they could have done instead. Maybe people aren't as harsh on it as I am. Some people probably like it a lot. I know other people that probably hate it more than I do. So, because I don't hate it, I just don't think it's good. And I think they could have done a lot better, and they failed at what they were trying to accomplish. But yeah, I think those are my final thoughts on it. Anything else from you?
Nah, I think we covered it pretty good.
Okay. Moving on to then Jurassic World Dominion. Oh boy. So this movie is, I guess I'll start with saying this. This movie is better than Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, that is the only compliment we can give it. Well, that's not fair. There were some moments in this movie that were at least cool and entertaining, but God, is it a stupid movie?
Yeah. This movie has a lot of different dinosaurs. Dinosaurs I was so excited to see, and was still, I would say, satisfied in seeing them. Like we finally got to see a Dimetrodon, which I've known what a Dimetrodon was when I was a kid. For some reason, it was like one of those standout dinosaurs from the little books and shit. And I see one of those and I'm like, oh my God, Dimetrodon, yeah. And you get like the, I guess, more feathered version of a raptor at one point, and it's like swimming in ice, and it's just fucking with them the whole time. and there's like the what would you call the really big the big bird with the claws? They're like out, I'm gonna fucking get you. Like the fucking
Oh, the one that fucks up the plane?
no, the one that fucks up
Oh, that
the
one.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I don't know the name of it. It's super bizarre because I'm pretty sure that dinosaur was featured in that like David Attenborough Prehistoric Planet show I've been watching recently,
The Apple one?
and they covered that was a herbivore. Like those, it had like massive scary claws, but those claws were, they theorize were for like scooping up like river plants.
Yeah, which in this movie they do keep to that. It is an herbivore in the film. It's just a little violent.
But it kills a deer though.
Yeah, but it doesn't eat the deer. It just is like
It sounds cool. Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
I'll give it that,
the
like
deer is literally in the way, and it's just like get the fuck out of my way. He just like
Yeah,
he
maybe
literally
that
just
was literally it.
backhands it, and the deer is just like I'm dead.
I do love that the sounds it makes was super cool. Like it was a
Oh
creepy
yeah,
sounding dinosaur.
the sound design, like that's honestly, if I could work on most of the films out right now as a sound designer, I would have wanted. I don't care how it is plot wise. I would have wanted to work on Jurassic World because I get to make dinosaur sounds.
Yeah, I
Like that would be so
imagine that'd
fucking
be
fun.
super fun.
Yeah. But there's those. There was the Atrociraptors, if I remember correctly.
Laser guided dinosaur.
Yeah, and it's like
I don't know why they keep trying to do that.
it didn't. I mean, that was also kind of a plot point too, to an extent, but they they had yeah. But I guess just going through dinosaurs, yeah, there's Atrociraptors. There were some other dinosaurs that were interesting that we've never seen before.
We
But
saw a Carnotaur. They look pretty cool.
yeah, we've
Dude,
seen Carnotaurs before. We saw them in
I love that one Carnotaur got loose and just a dude off the scooter.
dude, that was really funny. Yeah, but we've seen Carnotaurs in the
It's so
last
weird.
one. There was a Carnotaur on Fallen Kingdom, the one that the T-Rex sticks out and he's in the Nublar before the explosion
That's
goes.
true. And we saw that in Jurassic World or Jurassic Park 3 as well.
Yeah, we see one where it's like, don't move, and he's just there for a second, and he's like,
Yeah.
oh, and then he just walks away. Yeah, that was pretty good. God, that was so disappointing when they did that in Jurassic Park 3. I was like, no, I want to see more. Bring him back. Bring him back. There's more cool animals like this. Come on, man. But yeah, there was all these different dinosaurs. They really did. They were like, oh, this is gonna have like the most dinosaurs you've ever seen. And they did it. Now, that said, with all these dinosaurs, it felt like none of these dinosaurs matched the plot whatsoever. Like,
oh no, there's just that was what was so weird to me, was like the dinosaurs didn't factor into the plot at all. It's just I thought that the plot was going to be all about like what is life like now that like dinosaurs are loose in the world. We kind of have to like, apparently we can't get rid of them because we're not good at making like extinct species. But like instead it ends up being like there was like a plot all about locusts eating our food supply, and the dinosaurs just kind of happened to be around, and that was it. Like, they weren't important at all.
Yeah, it's like the locusts are going to destroy the world, and it's like, what about the dinosaurs? They're dinosaurs. That's it.
Yeah. They're kind of just there.
Yeah, the whole thing with the dinosaurs being there, being like, what would you? I guess you're saying like people coexisting with dinosaurs. The only thing they do with that is just showing dinosaurs kind of integrating with already existing animals on the planet. It just kind of shows that. And then when it comes to people, they don't really do anything else. They just kind of show like, look, the pterodactyls are on the top of the tower in New York, nesting there. And then there's like the Brachiosaurus or whatever in the lodge camp area, the logging area, where the dudes are getting all the wood. Sorry, like
sorry. Yeah.
What did you say? Sorry, what did you say?
No, I was saying, yeah, there was the Brachiosaur at the construction site or whatever.
Okay, yeah. So there's really just that. They didn't really do anything else. I would have loved it if instead they were like, Oh yeah, they also did the thing where there's the dinosaur underground where people are selling dinosaurs, and then there's the farm that is like doing stuff to
Yeah.
not the triceratops, but the other species that's similar to that of a triceratops.
Yeah, there's like a black market for dinosaurs now, even though they're just also out in the wild. Well, I guess there's a black market for real animals as well. So,
Yeah. 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 Other than that though, like you don't see anything like what would be cool if you see kids at school and there's like a special fire drill because, oh, hang on kids, dinosaurs coming near the yard, let's go back inside, like something like that. Or I would love it if there's like a, all right buddy, honey, so long, I'm off to work. Just gets got by a dinosaur, like that shit. I would laugh so fucking hard if they did that, because one, that would be comedic, yes, but considering how the rest of the movie is, it would have fit in perfectly, and it at least would have put more comedic substance in that isn't like, it just would have worked. I think I always like those ones though where
well,
it's
we
this guy
saw like
leaving.
that's the thing. We saw the occasional like someone checking the news on their phone, and it's like new dinosaur attack, and it's like someone like fending off like fucking baby pterodactyls at the beach or something.
Oh yeah, you see the little girl being chased by a couple of dinosaurs, so she's like, like
Yeah.
that was great. Okay, that was pretty good. I will say in their defense for that. Otherwise, you have this plot where, oh, it's what's her face was a clone still. You still got the clone girl, and she is apparently invaluable to Biosyn, who is returning since like Jurassic Park
Yeah, we
1.
got Dotson here.
We got Dotson, and Dotson's like, I'm Steve Jobs now
Yeah,
for
that's
some
weird.
reason. And this was another thing of kind of fanfare that was just there for fanfare. Like it was just like, look at the Easter egg. There's the Barbasol can. Like, do you see the Barbasol can? It's right here. Do you see it?
Yeah, dude. I know that they were going for just like nostalgia berry references, but as soon as I saw that Barbasol can, I was just like, how'd they find that? Like,
Yeah, it didn't really make sense as how they got that, considering like where it happened and what was there, and it was covered in mud, and it wasn't, unless they had some tracker on it, which I highly doubt. But also there was a volcano that went off at one point, so I'm like, how did you get
yeah,
this? Like, it would be more likely that the kids in Camp
and I'm pretty
Cretaceous would pick
sure.
this up. What are you saying?
Yeah, like, and I'm pretty sure they would have had to have picked it up after the volcano exploded because the can was singed. So I guess that was the implication that they got that after the last episode or the last movie, but like that makes even less sense. So I don't know.
Yeah. The whole plot point though, I guess you could say, is it's okay. It felt kind of weird where they're like, yeah, we accidentally created these locusts. Oh no, they're destroying everything. Hey, we need to reverse engineer this girl to and Blue's baby dinosaur daughter
Yeah,
to
and
basically reverse everything that the locusts are doing and
yeah.
save everyone.
So I hated that like they explained that Maisie, like, they literally retcon what they set up in the last movie, where it's like, okay, her grandfather didn't actually create her when his daughter died because he missed his daughter. His daughter just wanted a child, and instead of going to like a sperm bank or like adopting a child or something, she's just like, you know what? I could clone myself and see how that goes. And she does that, and then she finds out a genetic disease. She figures out a way to every single cell in her body after she's already been like conceived and everything. And like that is so hard to do, to like, that is the most difficult part of gene therapy right now, is just like, how do you change, so like you can easily change like individual cells genomes, but it is hard to change every single cell in your body, because like it's honestly hard to even get drugs to the every single cell in your body. Like it's long and complicated. I took like a single pharmacology course at Davis, And that made me realize like, oh my God, there's so much like work that goes into just like not just like figuring out make a drug that can work, but figuring out how to get that drug into your body and have it not like break down or get to the wrong place. So in yeah, like you said, the scientist was trying to figure out how like Maisie's mom even did that, and if he could do that, he could do that to like the locusts and create. I couldn't tell if he was trying to create like new mutant locusts that would not be able to have uh offspring, or would have like defective offspring and they would die off in the next generation, or if he like he wanted to create a virus that would just spread throughout the
It was one of the two.
but like if it was a virus, like that would be way easier to do. Like you could easily make a lethal virus.
And then maybe it was
but
just the first one, because I guess the virus could, how viruses can evolve and
yeah,
so
but
it's
then
probably the
if
first one.
but then
Probably
if that's
former.
the case, like you know what he could have easily done, instead of kidnapping a girl and a baby raptor and trying to figure out how they work, literally just genetically engineer your own locusts. Like you literally already did that in the first place. You can just start when they're single celled and create the change in their genome that you want, and then grow that one and release that one.
Listen,
Like
James, I don't think the writers were scientists, but
I
I could
really
be
don't
wrong.
think so either.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be writers now, would they?
So yeah, like the most of the throughout almost this entire movie, every time they tried to explain the plot of like the locusts and why, like what they need to do to solve that problem and why it's even a problem in the first place, I was just like, this makes no fucking sense. I don't think anyone really thought of this. I lost my mind when they even first introduced the locusts, and like Ellie Sattler is like, for some reason someone calls her like a, wasn't she like a,
Paleobotanist.
yeah, paleobotanist,
Hmm.
and they called her for some reason,
Maybe she expanded her research since the first
maybe,
movie.
and she literally sees like an untouched field of like corn or wheat or whatever like off in the distance. She's like, is that field also yours? Like, oh no, that's the neighbor's field. Like, oh well, do they use the same seed as you or something? Like, why did the locusts not touch their field? Like, oh, they're contracted with biosyn, they use biosyn crops. And I'm just like, okay, case closed. Like if they were like real locusts, they would have eaten everything. They would not have just like magically left one field completely untouched, unless they were for some reason like they couldn't ingest that uh like that crop because of something that biosyn did to that crop, or maybe it was something they did to the locusts. Either way, that is not that can't be a coincidence. Like statistically, that is impossible. And so I was like, okay, we're getting that shit easily, right? And then later on, Dotson's just like, don't worry about it. No one will ever trace it back to us. It's like, yes, they will. What are you talking about?
Yeah. So we got like the full scientific reasons why this movie's not good. Uh, that's the thing. Like, I'm like, honestly, a lot of the stuff you said, I would like, some of that stuff would never dawn in my brain, because I'm like, what? Like, all the time, like for like, just for reference, guys, like James will tell me all this sciencey stuff, especially like if stuff from work, and he's like telling me, and I'm like, half the time I'm like, English.
Well, I think it's cool.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that, but I'm also like, yeah, at least you'll do more layman's terms for me, which is always appreciated.
I
So I
try.
can understand. Other times I'm like, oh, I don't have, like, I'm like, I don't know what he's saying. It's big
Yeah,
science words and shit.
and I think that's one of the things that they were hoping for, is like this. To be fair, this shit like genetics is fucking complicated and really easy to fuck up in like the real world, let alone on like the plot of a movie. So I feel like the writers were definitely like, 99% of people are not going to understand why this doesn't make sense, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. It's not gonna pertain to most others, but then they weren't ready for you and
Yeah.
your scientific facts. So there's
If only
that.
I could have just gone to that movie and been like, "Oh, cool dinosaurs," but in that was like, that's not the main plot. So,
Yeah. Otherwise, you get like that kidnapping, and Claire and Owen are like, we're gonna work with the CIA and then the French foreign intelligence, and then get to
they brought that guy back though.
oh yeah, I was happy they show like they also like show little pictures of like the other two people that worked in Jurassic World. Or
Yeah,
at like the computers, where it's like the dude that when Owen destroys his desk, he's like, "Come on, man!" Like that
yeah.
nerdy guy, and then he tries to hit it like what? He tries to hit the shot with his female coworker, and she's like, "I have a boyfriend," and he's like,
Oh
"Oh,
yeah.
oh, right." So it was funny they
Oh
showed pictures
God.
of them for a second.
By the way, speaking of the French intelligence guy, I lost my shit when like they unleash the Atrociraptors, and he's one of the guys that gets like hit with a laser. So there's a raptor coming to him, and he gets into like the narrow opening of like a nearby boat, and he's
Yeah,
trying to like get out the other side like through the one of the windows, and he picks up like a nearby like crowbar or a bat or something, and he's trying to break open the window, and like while there's like a raptor like snapping at him and stuff like that, and he at some point pulls out his gun and tries to shoot out the window, and I was like,
why didn't he shoot the raptor?
yeah, wait a minute, why aren't you just shooting the raptor? They're not bulletproof.
Yeah, that's a good point. I honestly don't. Yeah, I'm not too sure, honestly, for that kind of thing. And looking at the Atrociraptors, were they bigger than the Velociraptors? They look kind of
It
bigger.
kind of looked like it. Definitely like the skull structure was different. They had like different like ridge lines around their eyes. Like they definitely didn't look like blue.
Yeah, and we've gone through 5 different breeds of raptors at this point, because you have the classic Velociraptor. We get those raptors in Jurassic Park Lost World. In Jurassic Park 3, they bring in the Alpha Velociraptors, which are like
Yeah.
these kind of white ones that are slightly geneticized, and who knows if they're like natural or not. I mean, obviously none of them are natural considering the frogs. They're like, hey, you got the frog shit in you
Yeah.
and stuff. But there's those. Then you have the Jurassic World raptors, which are color coded, so you feel they're more specifically geneticized for everything. Like you definitely see like a difference there, where it's like they're not just regular. They're like, oh, these are color coded, and you're like, color coded raptors. That one's blue. That's a blue raptor. What can you do? Is that legal? And then the 5th one, there's the Indoraptor. And the Indoraptor, that's the ultimate edgelord dinosaur. That is the edgiest
Yeah.
of all dinosaurs.
The only thing that's clever about that, someone pointed out recently that the Indoraptor had like yellow streaks along its back, which if you know anything about color theory, which like I really don't, I had to have this explained to me. Yellow is apparently like the opposite of blue. So I was just like, oh, okay. I guess that makes some sense.
Yeah. And then there's, of course, then the Atrociraptors. But also you could call the Indoraptor the Innuendoraptor, depending on what's going on as well, if you want.
We also got the a feathered raptor in this movie, which
Yes,
could
you did get the
swim
feathered
really
raptor.
fast, which was interesting.
Yeah, he's that one was a fuckboy. He's just
Dude,
like, I want to fuck with y'all like as much as I can.
I love that its move was to just immediately dive under the ice. I was just like, wait, what? Wouldn't that also kill it? I don't know.
I'll get warm later. Fuck it. Yeah, that was very interesting, the way they just have that raptor there, and it's just not. It pretty much, honestly, for what they show in the trailers, pretty much everything in it in the movie, like it's not really there after. It's just for that short period of time.
That's really the entire scene. That's it.
Yeah, because then you think there's like more of it in the where like Bryce Dallas Howard when Claire's like crawling in the water and stuff, but it turns out that's that veggie raptor one with the claws. It's like fuck you, and then like hits the deer out of the way and stuff.
Yeah,
but
so I love that she would have been safer if they just hadn't ejected her out of the plane.
We would have missed this amazing moment that we got to enjoy. So
I guess
that's important. And just fucking bitch slaps a deer to death. Yeah, the characters themselves, they were as expected. Claire and Owen were Claire and Owen. There wasn't new. there was nothing new about them. They're just like, we're parents now. We love our clone child. We love Maisie, and I'm fine with that. It was as schlocky as I expected it to be with them, and I was okay with it. Like I had nothing against it. I'm like, well, we're already at that point. Like it's not going to get worse or better. It's just going to be as much as I expected it to be. And then you have them. I don't think there's much to say about them really besides that. Uh, Other than that is the legacy characters return. You have Alan Grant, you have Ellie Sattler, you have Ian Malcolm, and they're all back again. And they are Ian Malcolm is Ian Malcolm. Ian Malcolm is as great as he was before. It's just Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum is the best part of this movie. Just the way he's talking, it's everything you wanted it to be, and you're just like, oh yes, Jeff Goldblum, keep going. I want to see more of your National Geographics on Disney Plus. Keep going, I love it. Like he's just fun. He's great. Like that's at least a plus to the film. This is easily one of the reasons why this is better than the last movie. Where in the last movie they just have him do a weird lecture and he's got a fat
he did like an
shit.
intro and an outro, and that was it.
He looked like just crazy old man with beard. And in this one, he looks like suave, like Ian Malcolm, who's like, oh,
I love him like when he shows up again. Dr. Grant is just like, like I guess he'll take any job or something like that. He's just like, well, I have 5 beautiful kids that I love, and expenses add up.
Yeah, that's pretty good. It's like, sometimes you just gotta go work at Apple or whatever the fuck this is. And then Ellie is fun. Like she more or less stays in character, but I think Ellie and Alan, they did feel like more of just fanfare characters.
Well, especially Alan Grant, because like there was no reason for him to be in this movie.
He was just there. Like it was just like, hey, do you want to come with me? And there was nothing. Yeah, he didn't really. There was no.
Literally, Ellie was just like, I need a witness if I find like shady shit the Biosin is doing. It's like, oh, seriously, you brought Alan Grant back just to be the guy to like watch you do stuff? Like that's weird. Okay.
I think like it's nothing against Sam Neill. I love Sam Neill. I love his acting. And I think they just needed to better utilize him. I think what they could have done better for this specifically was utilize what we already saw in Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3, where more interactions with him and the others with dinosaurs, and him finding a way around it, doing what he did before, problem solving it, and being like, listen, what if we did this? That would have been better.
Yeah, his dinosaur like knowledge did not come into play or help at all in this movie.
No. So I think if they really wanted to do a better job, they could have done that, especially what was it with the Dimetrodons? He could have done something there potentially. I know it was just like, Ian, help us. And he's like, just hit the numbers here and we'll see if it works. Thank God for Ramsey, I guess, for doing that, but which was funny because he's like, oh, I did it. And it's like, no, it was just Ramsey doing it. So
I didn't know there'd be a code.
Yeah. So I really think, easily if they had just done that, they could have improved the quality of the character utilization and slightly increased the quality of the film just by doing that one little thing. Just because it would then take it from being fanfare nostalgic utilization to actual practical utilization of legacy characters. And that's the same thing with Top Gun. Like we've already talked about it earlier, having the use of something that brings nostalgic value, but making it have a full form and full reason for being there versus just being there to be like, look, it's the thing you like, nostalgia, buy our shit. Like that is the big difference here. And if you could make that difference, you're going to succeed and you're going to earn points and you're going to earn respect. So, just always keep those things in mind. And I mean, obviously it's hard to do, or I don't think it's hard to do, but it's easy to see that the vast majority don't get it if Top Gun so far is really the only one that's really pulled it off at this point.
Yeah.
And maybe Blade Runner. I'm not sure.
If
you want to count Blade Runner 2049, maybe. I think that also kind of works well.
That's true. It's weird. It's like after seeing Top Gun Maverick, I was like, I initially was like, there's no way that they are going to do a sequel 30 years later and it's actually good and feels like they needed to do it. And after watching it, I was like, holy shit, this movie's one of the best sequels I've seen in a long fucking time.
Yeah.
And after watching the newest Jurassic World movie, I'm just like, I don't think I ever need to see another one of these movies. Like, they could just stop.
Yeah.
Which is really sad because I like Jurassic Park. The first Jurassic Park is literally one of my favorite movies of all time, and they've only gone like downhill from there. And this last one was just like you said, better than the last one, but that's not saying much.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know why. Watching these newer ones make me specifically nostalgic to watch the one I think that people gave shit back then, but actually was much better than people gave it credit for, which is Jurassic Park 3. Like, I have a
Yeah,
weird
that one has its
fondness.
moments at least.
I have a weird fondness for that movie specifically, but I think it's also because it also takes a lot from the book that people don't realize it does. It's weird. The first three movies take a lot from the first two, both books. A lot, like, they're just weirdly broken up, like second book, second movie, but horribly utilized where it doesn't match at all. Versus first book is the first and third movie, just utilized differently.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Because the whole Spinosaurus chasing the group in the third movie is in the first book. That's the T-Rex doing that in the first book. They just took that out in the movie and kind of was just like they kept running into the T-Rex, but it never felt like he was chasing them. And there's also it's just different. Yeah.
I should probably read the Jurassic Park books at some point because I love the movies so much, at least the first one. I should try reading the book.
I think it's worth it. And for those that don't know, Jurassic Park was created by Michael Crichton. This is the same guy that created Westworld. So he's done other stuff too, but
I did not know that.
Yeah. Jurassic Park, Westworld, same guy.
Damn.
Check out the original stuff. The book really, the books make you look at the movies in a whole new way. They make you kind of get annoyed at the second movie a lot more. And they make you realize that the second book that the movie is based off of is actually much better. And they just feel good. And, like other things, though, like Alan Grant is older, Ellie is younger, and you're like, oh. So there's that kind of thing. But I guess back to the legacy characters real fast. Like, how did you feel about them kind of finally bringing Ellie and Alan together? Like
it was cool, but it really felt like nostalgia member berry shit, and like not they weren't in the movie for like a point. I don't know.
I felt like they were in it for that moment where they were like, this was the reason where, because the whole thing was you have this in Jurassic Park 1, 3, and 6. When you look at this, in 1, you have them that you feel like they're going to get together, and that was the whole point. Like, the whole thing is Alan coming to terms with children and like understanding kids, and like kind of it's like the dinosaurs and kids are kind of allegories for each other going through it as Alan is understanding it all. And I think if I remember correctly, it might be the same thing in the book. I can't recall at this moment, but you get to the third where you feel like everything's learned and Alan understands what it's like to have kids and Ellie wants kids and all that kind of thing. And you're like, cool, I get it now. Jurassic Park 3, Alan has no kids. Ellie is married and has a kid. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? Why'd you do that? Like, what the fuck happened? I don't get it. And it just felt weird because obviously this is where it leaves the books. It doesn't make any sense. And, some people were sad about it, but it's also, I guess, at the same time, somewhat realistic where it's like, they don't always get together at the end of the movie and have a happy ending or whatever. It changes. And then in this one, 6 is trying to more or less correct what happens in 3, where it's like, maybe you find yourself later on and you're like, oh, we actually did work out really well together. And Ellie's like, oh, my kids are in college. Like, they're on their own now. They're good to go. And I'm divorced and stuff. And Alan's like, I'm with dinosaurs and our funding sucks. We have to do we allow people in to see the digs now because of how shitty everything is. It was weird, but I got it. And I won't lie, there was like, it does work at the same time, because when they do that, there's like a small part of me that's like, finally. And like, that is there. I won't lie. Like, there's that wanting for that to occur, but it's just weird to have it that many years later.
Yeah, that's
I guess you could say, where it's like the the time between 1 and 3, and then the time between 3 and 6, you're like, woo. This, like Jurassic Park 1 came out around we were little when that came out. So this is
Oh
really
yeah.
happening throughout our entire lifespan so far, is these 6 movies. And kind of
Jeez.
seeing that where it's like, yeah, like just kind of a certain point didn't hit it, but now that we're like 30, they're getting back together, and I'm like, oh man, this is I'm fucking old. Holy shit. It's just weird. Uh but yeah, legacy characters, like I said, Ian Malcolm fine, could have done a lot better with Alan Grant. Ellie
Yeah.
also could have done a little bit better. It just kind of, at least she had the most purpose, but it still was just kind of like whatever. You had other characters like Dodgson, Ramsey, uh, and yeah, and also I guess you could say Doctor. What was Doctor's shit? What's his
The
name?
scientist guy. I always forget his name.
Doctor. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up real fast. But how did you feel about, I guess, like Dodson coming back for all this?
I mean, it was interesting that they like. I mean, that was a deep cut, I guess. But at the same time, like, I didn't get the impression when like he was in the one scene in Jurassic Park that he was important. Like, I just took it as he was like some guy who was the contact that Biosyn either employed or like paid to be the handoff to Nedry to like give him the Barbasol can, and then maybe like he would also like be the same contact for Nedry to like hand the Barbasol can back to in the end. I didn't expect him to be like important to Biosyn, or like even like you said, essentially there's subs, which was weird. Like, I was also very confused how blase was about potentially having caused the end of the like humanity as we know it.
I mean,
Because like they
hang on there. Like, that's not really
okay.
surprising considering the fact that, like, look at gas CEOs, look at all the other big corporate CEOs that know what the fuck they're doing to our planet and just
Yeah,
believe in their capital gains over anything else.
I guess there is some sense to that. It's just like it's a little bit different between like slowly killing the planet with like greenhouse gases versus we might cause a global like food chain collapse within the next year. Like,
A little bit. That's it.
that is a major PR problem. And he's just like, don't worry about it. No one will ever figure out that we made those locusts. There's only so many like companies in the world that could engineer something like that, let alone the fact that they're not eating our crops. No one will figure it out.
I think they're also taking advantage of the fact that they are utilizing themselves as the answer to dinosaurs, where dinosaurs are somewhat a problem for society, and they're like, well, we can take care of it, we can put them here in this valley, let Biosyn take care of it, we give us government subsidies and all this other shit, and we'll have it all taken care of for everybody. So
Yeah.
that's why they would potentially not be looked at, because they're doing this. So it's like, oh hey, how come this thing's happening? Oh, maybe it's because of this thing. And it's like, oh, all right, even though they're pretty much the ones that are also creating probably some of the dinosaurs anyway, you could imagine, even though I guess like
well, they straight up were saying like, yeah, we've even brought back some of the older in their pure form without any like reptile or amphibian DNA somehow.
Yeah, so they've been making more, but they did say they brought some from both islands. Like, they got the ones that were all there, and then they got
they got the T-Rex.
they
It
got
apparently
some
showed up right before Dr. Grant and Dr. Sattler.
Yeah, and you'd imagine, like they said, some from Isla Sorna from the second and third movie, but like all the ones they got are not the ones that you wanted to see.
Yeah, we didn't see a Spinosaurus,
which is
they
why you got to watch.
Instead introduce some like Gigasaur.
Yeah, but I mean, that's also why you got to watch Camp Cretaceous to know what happened to all all the Isla Sorna dinosaurs that you do like, because they're on a different island, and it's
I need to watch that show. You keep telling me to watch it.
Yeah, like I said it before to everybody, Camp Cretaceous is better. The show itself is better than the new trilogy of movies, easily. It somehow they managed to pull this off, and it's much more interesting. And even though it's for kids and it's a bunch of kids, it is actually entertaining, and people do die in it. They will, of course, die off screen, but there are deaths. People get eaten by dinosaurs. This shit happens, and it is enjoyable. It is very enjoyable. I would say it's one of the better animated shows on Netflix, easily. So, yeah. Otherwise, there's Ramsey. Ramsey is kind of like your whistleblower type guy, and he's fine. I have nothing against him. He pretty much does everything he needs to do, but his role isn't like, the thing was, like, his role is fine. It just isn't anything that will raise the stakes of the movie. It won't lower the stakes of the movie. He's just kind of like there doing his thing, but it's not enough to, like I said, raise or lower the plot for everything that's going on that's like wrong or right for the film, I think.
I mean, I'll give him credit that like see him being on the side of like the main characters until he was like, did you get the sample or whatever? Even though like I kind of got, well, it was telling them like, oh, would you like to tour the facility on your own? Like, take these elevators. Definitely not those, because those are the sub levels. For some reason, I didn't take that as him trying to hint that he was on their side. I first thought that like Dotson had like a plan to like use like Dr. Grant Sattler to like for something. So I guess it did kind of catch me off guard when he was just like, oh no, I'm actually trying to be a whistleblower here because they're doing some crazy shit.
I'm the one that got Malcolm involved. Like, it wasn't even him.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm the one behind all the, let's take these guys down.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it was also just really confusing when he like confronted Dotson at the end, and Dotson was like, yeah, like you're in charge now. And I'm like, wait, what? I thought he was literally just your assistant. What the hell? What was he now, like your partner? I mean, I don't understand.
That one I didn't have too much of a problem with, because I didn't think that was too detrimental to the plot or like anything really going on. It was just kind of like a moment of something happening where, you know, he just is like, yeah, it seems like he's grooming him to be the next like head and stuff, by the way he's talking about him and shit. And then the thing you did bring up was,
didn't get that at all.
Oh, okay, well,
like until that moment, like I was like, I did not get the impression that Dotson like respected Ramsey as an equal. I literally thought he was just like the assistant.
Yeah, I got it in the beginning. I would say when he was just like, he first introduced, he's like, oh, he's like a young me, and then he does.
I thought he was joking. That's the thing.
I don't know. I feel like it's like one of those things where you joke, but you're also serious. Like he's the next big guy. Like that's kind of the thing he was saying, more or less.
Okay. I guess they just didn't take him seriously at that point. I thought he was just being like polite, like, oh yeah, no, he's just like me, but you know, younger and taller and better looking and stuff like that. Like I thought he was just being nice.
I'm not sure, but at least that's what I got from it personally. Otherwise, yeah, Ramsey was fine. And then you had the pilot, what was her name again? It was,
I did like her. I thought she was cool.
Yeah, Kayla Watts. It felt weird that she was just randomly like, I'm gonna help you, but otherwise, like just decision making, it felt a little weird. Like the transition to go from I let a kid get kidnapped and didn't say shit, and I've been flying for these guys and questionable cargo all the time, to redemption. It felt random, but her as a character,
especially after literally talking to Bryce Dallas Howard's character, I keep forgetting her character's name,
Claire.
Like she corners her in the bathroom and is like, this is obviously not the place for you. You need to like go find, like, you need to just leave and forget about whatever you're like came here to do. And she even is just like, I'm not gonna help you. Like, don't talk to me. I don't want to get involved with whatever you're doing. And then literally 10 minutes later, she's like, I'm gonna save you from these raptors. Trust me.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck's happening? Otherwise, as a character, she's fun. She's enjoyable. Like
Yeah.
she's like her banter is very fun. Her actions when they after they crash is just like she does a good job. Like the way she's just
Yeah.
like, I know how to
No, I
fucking
thought
beat
she
the
was really
dinosaur.
cool.
Yeah. So I'd say she was she's one of the cooler characters within the film, at least newer type characters. Because I felt like Owen and Claire kind of did like Owen felt very whatever in this movie. Personally, I kept forgetting he was really there. Otherwise, she was one of the better parts, I would say. Like her, Ian Malcolm, I guess to an extent, Claire kind of, but I feel like they're running out of action shit for Chris Pratt to do in this stuff. So it makes
Yeah.
sense now for him to move on to such grand characters as Super Mario and Garfield.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then we had,
Both like lasagna.
yeah, I do remember now. Dr. Henry Wu was the name, and it was
Right.
yeah. So you had him, and he had like the weird like, I want my redemption. I kind of fucked this up, and the dude's been kind of fucking shit up since the fourth movie, where it's like, oh, I made Dominus Rex, I made Indoraptor, I made I can't just keep making dinosaurs. I can't help myself. But
Yeah, I love how 2 movies ago it was like, oh, it's not my fault you told dangerous, more violent monster like dinosaurs. And now two movies later, he's like, oh my god, I've made so many monsters. What have I done?
yeah, I mean, you do see like all the time pass, and you see the difference with him, like how well kept he is in Jurassic World versus now,
He's
where
got
he's like long
long hair
hair, he just looks like, yeah, he just looks all disheveled and shit. And you're like, okay, I see it now, I get it. Like he definitely is trying to like fix his shit. Um, and I'm wondering if he got off scot-free. I think he might have gotten off scot-free because he's like, I could save the world, and they're like, let him go, I guess. I don't know. And you can probably still study the dinosaurs, if anything. Like, I don't see the problem with it. Fuck it. I always that's the funny thing. Like, I always liked him as an actor, BD Wong. He's always been fun and everything. He was even Dr. Hugo Strange in the Gotham TV show, which was incredibly great. That was great. I was always like, oh my god, they got BD Wong as fucking Hugo Strange. That's insane. So he was fun. I enjoyed him for what we had with him in this. Otherwise, all the dinosaur fights felt very forced easily. The whole the we didn't talk about him yet, but yeah, Mr. What was his name? The Giga Chad, the Giga Chad Source Rex.
Yeah.
Which I felt really weird when Colin Trevor was like, yeah, this guy's like, this is why I'm like, why is everyone all of a sudden being like, this is Obi Wan is like Joker, Gigasaurus Rex is like Joker. I'm like, the fuck you guys talking about?
Yeah, like the Giganotosaurus or whatever. Like
Giga Chad.
Yeah, like it literally was in like 2 or 3 scenes.
And he's just, you know what his crime was? Just doing dinosaur shit. He's just like,
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much.
just dinosaur. Oh, hey,
He got into
people.
a fight. He got into a fight with the T-Rex to show that he could beat the T-Rex, and then later on, the T-Rex killed him by impaling it on like another dinosaur's claws, which is super funny.
Yeah, like the whole.
He literally just pushed him.
He had nothing. There was nothing wrong with this dinosaur. Like in the last 2 movies, you're like, here is genetically engineered new species dinosaur, Indominus Rex, who is blatantly evil. You can tell. There you go. And he's like, I'm evil. Look, I can turn invisible. And you're like, we need to kill him. And you have a raptor, a T-Rex, and a fucking Mosasaurus work together to fucking kill this guy. And then in the next movie, you have an Indoraptor. Indoraptor is literally what you would call Joker. He is looking at the audience, winking and going, kids, you want to see something cool? Like that is actually your
it's
Joker.
Like killing for fun, literally.
Literally your Joker fucking dinosaur is the Indoraptor. I don't know how else you could describe him. And he's literally the edgelord of all dinosaurs. It is amazing how much of an edgelord that dinosaur is. I actually fucking love that movie. That movie, like I said, this movie is better than that movie. That movie is more entertaining because that movie is funny as fuck, though. That movie was like that Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, and Shane Black's The Predator are amazing comedy films that people don't get. If you look at it as a comedy film, you actually have a great time with it because you're like, oh, this is a funny movie. And you're like, well, what about the other stuff? Don't think about that. You'll get angry. It's not worth it. Just laugh at shit and move on with your life. That's what the doctor prescribes for this one. Whereas the Giga Chad is just like, I want deer. I eat deer. Fuck you, T-Rex. I want deer more than you, me big. And then he sees people.
It's literally, its big crime is being the apex predator.
Yeah, he just is hungry. That's it. He's not like killing for sport. He's just like, I want to eat food. I'm in a dinosaur pen, kind of like backed up with all these other dinosaurs. It's really crowded in here. The T-Rex is here again. He's jealous of me because I'm a Giga Chad. And now he hit me with fucking big hands here, who's like, don't get fucking near me. I'm gonna fucking stab you. And he just like gets him with his little claws. And he's like, oh, it appears I have been impaled and I am dead. And I'm like, this dude wasn't evil. He's just a dinosaur.
Yeah, I do love that Biosyn's plan for if the like valley ever caught on fire and there was like a massive emergency, their plan is to use the brain chips that they implanted in all the dinosaurs somehow to like herd them all into a small enclosure together.
Yep.
And then turn off the chips. So like, of course they're going to kill each other.
What we didn't expect was once the dinosaurs got together, they looked around and went, oh shit, food fight.
Yeah, literally.
Except they all are literally the food. So it kind of, we saw how that went. It's honestly, I would love to see them do that now at the zoo. Let's go see what they do when they go put all the different animals in the zoo together. And I can watch the fucking lions and bears be like, dude, no way, come here. There's so much to talk about, Mr. Penguin.
It's a zoo battle royale.
Yeah, God, that's who's gonna win in a fight? 30 penguins or a lion? The lion, because the penguins are all gonna run away because it's fucking lion. Oh man. Yeah, so it was just a weird movie. It was entertaining. I understand why no one else I know besides us has gone and seen it and paid money to watch it. I get it. I don't blame you. I would also wait for this to come to, what would it be, fucking Peacock or some shit? I don't know what's going to be.
Yeah, wherever it goes.
Yeah.
To die.
To die. It reminded me, I looked and I'm like, wait, do I have all the Jurassic movies? And I'm like, oh my God, I actually bought all the Jurassic movies. I have like a unopened steelbook copy of Fallen Kingdom. And I'm like, when did I buy this?
Oh no.
I don't remember buying this. I think it was because it was when it first came out, so it was so fucking funny to me. All they kept playing through my head was the Indoraptor scenes. So I'm like, yeah, I had a good time with this. It was fucking hilarious. That's actually also the same reason why I bought the Predator, to be honest. Also, so it's like if I organize my movies by genre and you just have comedy, you're gonna see like Superbad, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Jurassic Park 5. And the Predator, and it'll be like, those are your comedies. Like, yeah, these are my comedy films. Right next to Superbad, right where it belongs. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I wouldn't recommend either. I wouldn't recommend Obi Wan to anybody. I wouldn't recommend Jurassic World Dominion to anybody. I think this episode was just the hey, don't watch these episode.
I don't know.
I'll put it this way. There's so much content out there. There's so many food movies. There's so many shows. These are not the good ones. There's so many better things you could watch than these. If you're looking for quality.
I still feel like I'm overall a bit more positive on Obi-Wan than you. Like, I still think overall it's enjoyable. It just has its like dumb moments and some characters don't really like land well.
And you already forgot half of it.
Yeah, but I still would overall say, like, for it only being 6 episodes, it's worth a watch. I can't say that for Jurassic World Dominion. It's just not good, in my opinion.
At least you get just watch the Ian Malcolm scenes. That's about it.
Yeah.
Just watch Ian Malcolm scenes. Otherwise, I think that's everything. That's all we have time for. Honestly, I didn't think we'd be ranting about both of these as much as I thought we would.
Right? I thought we'd be done in an hour.
Yeah, I mean, you also guys got an educational science talk about clone genomes as well.
Yeah, I honestly feel like I should make a podcast about just like talking about random
Yeah,
science shit.
just do science shit. Yeah, there you go. Don't have me on. I don't know what the fuck I'd be like. You just be like, no, for average human thought.
You're just like, whoa, that's so cool, dude.
You just be like, not a caveman cam. Be like, ah, ah.
Fire hot.
Yeah. Oh, his hands on fire. Oh my god. Oh shit. Okay, yeah. So that was Sutro Sidetalk. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up, a bunch of stuff that I put on hold pretty much because if you guys didn't know, obviously I've been working on a game formerly called The Neighbors, now called Keepsake County. We've officially named it. Recently we were in Steam Next Fest. I don't know if I don't think by now the demo will still be around in Steam, but you can go to itch.io to get an early access copy of it. Right now it's only $5. I can tell you right now the price will not be that low when it actually comes to a complete release. It will be at least double, if not more than that. So if you want to get it early, get it now. It's a Midwestern stealth game. You can check it out. I've been doing all the sound for it, including the male voices are also just me. So you can check all that out. And it's a fun stealth indie game. You can enjoy that if you want. We've also done Midnight Ultra that's on Steam and itch.io as well, which is a much faster paced shooter that is completely different than this game. Actually, they're not even similar whatsoever, really. But I've been doing that, working on some other stuff and just been traveling to Denver, about to go to LA. So things have been really busy. I haven't had a chance to really do much else, but at least like the big focus has been trying to consistently keep this going weekly, which has also been taking up a lot of time considering we're like doing double episodes in a week recently. After this, I think we'll be going back to regular format, hopefully in terms of our recording schedule. But I've also been going and ramping up on Sutro Sidewatch because we have a lot to catch up there and going weekly on that. Right now we're taking a little break because of the travel. The travel's made it actually difficult to record and get things done there. But we've gotten done with January, which was Spike Lee month. We have 2 Spike Lee movies there. March, which was another Studio Ghibli month, which we have 2 movies there. And April is also out now, which is another pretty much our last potential Ralph Bakshi month. So we have 6 episodes there. On the next one we're doing, James will be on too. It's going to be we're finally getting back to Bond because we have a lot of Bond movies to do, but Brandon's still reading the books for those. So some of them, they're going to be very spread out throughout this year, very much out of order. For now, we're only doing Goldfinger, which will be coming next. And then we'll probably hit up into May, which is going to be Cowboy Samurai month, which is like it's Sergio Leone and Akira Kurosawa. So we're doing Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars. But we got that coming. So Sutro Sidewatch has been, like I said, we're kind of going weekly for that, which is also, like I said, been taking up a lot of time. Normally it's every other week, but because we're in catch-up mode, that's what we're doing. Aside from that, hopefully when I get back in July, I'm going to be potentially editing all of the episodes we've had so far on video, creating 2 to 3 30-second clips for each episode. And I'll be throwing those all on TikTok, as well as like Instagram Reels and stuff. So, and maybe YouTube too. I'm not sure how that works there too. I think the YouTube Shorts, it could work there too. But that'll be kind of like bring more TikTok stuff happening. That'll be the first thing I'll have on TikTok again. And then in time, I'll probably start doing little TikTok news shorts as well on there, little opinion pieces as well. But hopefully that'll happen because the goal is to make TikTok the main thing, considering that's where all the big views are going to come in. Usually all the videos I've done there so far have been like 500 views around, compared to like Instagram where I'm posting something and it's like 13 people or something liking it. So it is a vast difference in terms of viewership, I've noticed easily. And I understand that's where everything is. So I'm going to try to focus on that when I come back. I'm really going to force myself to get it done this coming month. And I know it's been like being put off, but that's going to happen. Up to it, down to it, we'll come back again when we can bring it back. For now, like, I'm glad we got the surgery injury episode out. Enjoy episode 10 because that's for now the only one we'll probably get for just a little bit. And then Cut of Steel, I haven't had any time to do everything for it, but like I said, that one, there's a lot of episodes I want to do for it, but for now I'm really wanting to get the big Where Are They Now piece out, which is going to be the full pulse check on every single DC movie announced since, every live action DC movie announced since Man of Steel. So that's another thing I'm going to work on when I get back, because I got those, I got a short film I got to work on and some other stuff. So all that's kind of being juggled around. But once that's ready, then we'll put out 1 to 3 episodes for that kind of thing for Cut of Steel. And then I'll start trying to do more episodes for Cut of Steel, like on things like Harley Quinn, Young Justice, things like Doom Patrol, which I know people are waiting on me to do that episode for. So we'll get all that in as well and finally be able to talk about all those. And I think James will probably integrate a news segment into the Cut of Steel as well, more of specifically just all the upcoming DC news to finally like kind of, it'll be more, I guess, I think appropriate there anyway, but it'll be still news from that month specifically when we'll do it. But that's all coming. I don't think we'll get a Cut of Steel episode until earliest I would say is end of July, maybe August. But at least for sure, the one I can guarantee is when we have Black Adam coming out. But I'm going to try to make as many episodes as I can before then. That's not too insane. So at least once a month from now till then, either starting July or August. We'll see what goes on and how availability is for those that I can get on the shows. With that said, though, I think that's everything. Only other thing I think is just one thing I'm going to focus on more is just finding ways to get more people to check out our show, because that's honestly the biggest thing I'm trying to work on too. Besides TikTok is one of those primary ways, but I'm trying to see how we can get more people checking out the podcast, checking out on YouTube, and just the ways of doing that, because it's still new. YouTube is very new to me. I'm still like just throwing it out on there without doing anything extra, which is why it looks like the way it is. But I'm going to figure it all out too. Like I said, time has just been my enemy currently.
Dude, same with everyone.
Yeah,
it's not enough time to do anything anymore.
Yeah, I really, really want that fucking Hermione time turner from Harry Potter. That'd be a lifesaver, honestly. But with that said, I think that is everything. You can email us at sutrosidetalk@gmail.com. Comment, feedback. If you want, you can send us a question we can read on the show. And you can also subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to. If it's Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star review. If it is Spotify, please rate us. And if it is YouTube, please like and subscribe. All these things are actually what you can do to help us out, considering we're not asking for money yet. And you can also follow us, like I said, on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Sutro Sidetalk. And you can follow James on Twitter and Instagram at InvaderJim124. You can follow me on Twitter at GoGoComzilla and Twitter at KillerShoosh. And we will be back with episodes on such things as Destiny, Witch Queen Part 2. We'll have that. We've got Lightyear. We've got Stranger Things 4. Encanto and Turning Red. We'll have that. We're gonna have a podcast episode with Ryan that we had from Lord of the Rings, doing Thor Love and Thunder. We've got Miss Marvel. There's a ton of stuff. So and there's more that I can't even think of on the top of my head, but there's just a lot more. So it's all coming soon. Be ready for it all. And it's hard because there's so much and it's hard to keep up with it all. That's actually becoming the difficulty now, is making sure it can all happen. But until next time, guys, see you later.
Thanks for listening.